Coming up on today's show of the Buccaneers Breakdown presented by PrizePicks, we're going to be talking about the surprise depth chart that the Buccaneers dropped before their game against the New York Jets on Friday. That's all that we're going to be talking about on today's show. My takeaways with what the depth chart looks like and what we can be expecting in the 2026 season with what this depth chart could look for, as well as with the New York Jets coming up on Friday. Big game. Who's going to show out? Who's going to make their name known on this depth chart more than it has been before? My name is Reid Bartkus. Thank you so much for watching today's show. I hope you're having a great day today. And our August like battle. This is a little bit different. So I was looking at the analytics for our rivals in the NFC South, and it is August 12th today. 394 is the most likes that Falcons Today has on one of their videos in August. Saints Now has 205 likes. Panthers Today has 161 likes. And our best liked video in August is 129 likes. Can we try and beat Falcons Today having the most liked video in August? If you like the content here at Bucs Breakdown, make sure to like the video. If you don't, sorry, I'll do better. All right, depth chart takeaways. Number 1, Jacob Parrish over Benjamin Morrison on the actual depth chart. Now, I don't think this is Jacob Parrish is going to be starting over Benjamin Morrison. I think it is Benjamin Morrison is not healthy right now, and he is behind. He's CB2 on there. Now, is this like sort of how I have my depth chart, where it's like Jacob Parrish is going to be the nickel and Benjamin Morrison, when he's healthy, is going to be CB2? Because obviously Zion McCollum is CB1, but like I saw that and I was like, uh-oh, like what are we doing, right? Benjamin Morrison, I need him to be healthy for this season. I really, really do. Because we have a lot of versatile people. With Pepe Williams really stepping up in training camp, we have a lot of options now. And Jacob Parrish was practicing and working out at outside corner for majority of training camp, especially on the third day in a row. And rookie Keontae Scott was working at the nickel. So Benjamin Morrison, there hasn't been any like true updates. He's been working on the side, I think, during training camp. But like, I think when you have a guy like Keontae Scott, you can kind of put him anywhere, right? He's talked about he wants to play where he can get in. Like, he just wants to contribute to the team. So use him at nickel, use him at free safety, use him anywhere you need, really, depending on the defense that you're running. But if BMO isn't ready by week 1, it's a little scary, right? We need as much depth in that cornerback room as possible. In that secondary room, especially because we just signed Xavier Williams as well. So, like, the fact that BMO is behind Jacob Parrish on the unofficial depth chart does not make me feel good, right? So that was my first takeaway. When I first looked at, like, if you look up unofficial depth chart on Twitter or anything like that, you'll see the picture. These are just my takeaways of what I'm looking at when I first see it. And when I saw Jacob Parrish was over top of Benjamin Morrison, he wasn't even as like a starter, I was like, uh-oh. But the other thing that I did not like at all, second takeaway from the depth chart, Sebastian Dennis is starting. Now, I looked at this and I was like, all right, I understand. Like, when it comes to Sebastian Dennis, I think he has the veteran experience, or I guess like the Josiah Trotter's a rookie. So I guess he's going to get the nod before Josiah Trotter does. But with Josiah Trotter, how he's been practicing, I don't know. I think we should probably take a look at this a little bit more. And we will after we talk about our amazing friends over at PrizePicks. Today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. You're watching this for free because of our friends over at PrizePicks. If you're trying to win some money while watching your favorite sports, make sure to go ahead and do so with America's #1 sports picks app, as well as mine since 2022, and that is PrizePicks. A chance to win some money while watching your favorite sports? What can get better than that? And the app is actually really simple to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. That's it. Now, if you're like, my favorite sport is watching the Buccaneers play, and they're not playing yet, that's totally okay. And you don't really want to get started with anything else. They have season long on Prize Picks. Now, what does that mean? It means if I put in $10, I can win 30 when it comes to Bucky Irving having the more on his rushing and receiving touchdowns. I think he's going to get a lot of touches this year in the backfield. Zach Robinson has talked about him a lot in using him to the best of his ability, which I think is going to be huge. Now, that's why I put that one for more. And then our guy Mike Evans over there in the Bay Area, the other Bay Area. Last year was the first time he did not get 1,000 receiving yards. With all the injury-riddled players over there, and Mike Evans was not very consistent on the field in terms of injuries, I'm going the less on his receiving yards, and that is set at 824.5 receiving yards. $10 to win 30. If you want to get started with Prize Picks, use the social feeds feature. You can copy that lineup at Reid Bartkus. You get a chance to win some money, and it goes the entire season. So, best of all, play your first $5 lineup and get $150 in bonus lineups if you win that lineup. Just use code HMA when you sign up. That's right, Prize Picks just switched up their offer, so there's no better time to join than now. Lock in and win that first lineup. That's code HMA at sign up to get $150 in bonus lineups if you win your first $5 or more lineup. Prize Picks, code HMA, download the app today. So, Servassier Dennis, right? I think when it comes to last year, it was not good, guys. Like, I understand that the grades or the stats in terms of, like, he had over 100 tackles last year. But it's because teams and quarterbacks were sort of targeting him because his coverage grade was a 30.5. He allowed 54 receptions, over 635 yards, and 2 touchdowns, averaging each catch average over 10 yards against him. That's not good at all. Let's be real, right? Servassier Dennis, it's nothing against him. He's a great downhill tackler. He can stop the run, but we just drafted a guy like that in Josiah Trotter, who is making plays in the coverage department. Geno Smith picked again against the Jets. This was yesterday with the Jets joint practice with the Bucs. Josiah Trotter threw it right to him. 3rd interception for Geno today. So that is just one thing. Like, a lot of the slack on Josiah Trotter when we drafted him, a lot of his weakness was coverage. He can't cover. Clearly, he's doing pretty well, right? This is Matt Verdame, I believe. He is covering the Kansas City Chiefs, but he also just covers the NFL as a whole, was at the joint practice with the Jets, and he said, Josiah Trotter looks like a player. Just picked off Geno Smith, and Team Drill stuffed a cutback run for a TFL earlier as well. Was told by one personnel man this offseason that Trotter was the steal of the draft. Looks like he has a chance to be. I'd rather see Trotter out there over Servassier Dennis, and he can prove that during these preseason games, right? You can say, oh, I want Trotter over him. And it's like, well, Trotter's a rookie. We haven't really seen him in NFL games like we have with Servassier Dennis. Now, like I said, like Servassier Dennis isn't like a liability. He has a liability a little bit in coverage, as you could see the stats earlier. But like, I think Servassier Dennis, he will get the nod as the starter unless Josiah Trotter can make some plays during the preseason and prove that he can start next to Alex Anzalone in that linebacker group. Now, the third thing that I take away from the Bucs' unofficial roster breakdown is Connor Bazelak over Jalen Daniels. Now, this is not like oh my God, this is crazy, we should have Jalen Daniels over him. It's more of what happened in joint practice against the Jets, where Jake Browning came up limping, and he had to walk off the field with his pads off, and he was visibly upset. This is a big time for Jalen Daniels, because Connor Bazelak, we know, he went in as quarterback 2 against the Jets. So we know that he's going to be the next guy up unless Jalen Daniels continues to impress, because at training camp and rookie mini camp, and He's a UDFA out of Kansas. The guy is just going to try and prove himself the entire time. So if he can prove himself and continue doing well in practice, there's a chance that he could really take that job away from Connor Bazelak. Now, Connor Bazelak's usually just the practice squad guy, but like if Jake Browning is like not out for the season, obviously we don't want that. You sign a guy like him to be, your backup quarterback. But having a guy like Jaden Daniels, who last year, he was not bad at Kansas, right? Had over 2,000 yards, but really where he can flourish is that rushing game, right? Because our offense works around Baker Mayfield. I guess I hope Zach Robinson's offense works around Baker Mayfield. And so having that rushing ability definitely helps helps the offense like help it a little bit. But I think Jalen Daniels, something that is really worth noting is Zach Robinson expressed how great of a camp that Jalen Daniels had and is having. This is back on August 4th, adding that his arm is one of the better ones he has been around. So the fact that he is lethal in the rushing game and is proving that his arm is very good, it's going to be a big battle during this preseason games, during the games that we have. Because if Jalen Daniels can show that he is better than Connor Bazelak and is more impressive and can make a little bit more plays when he has chances to, I think we might, unfortunately, say goodbye to Connor Bazelak and slot Jalen Daniels in there. So that's something that I want to watch for sure. Now, fourth thing I want to talk about, Payne Durham was set as the tight end 2. Now, we have a couple tight ends on our roster, but I just thought that was worth noting because looking at this tight end depth chart, obviously Cade Otton, you bring him back on the contract, and then Payne Durham, he's more of your blocking tight end. And then I have Devin Culp as tight end 3. They actually had Keith as tight end 3. And then we got Kenny Fletcher in there as well, and then our draft pick Bauer Sharp as well, who actually was making a couple plays during that joint practice against the Jets. I don't want to say a couple plays. I think just one play where he got absolutely drilled on a short catch over the middle, but was able to make the catch, which is huge. Making plays as a late draft pick rookie, when you have a ton of tight ends on the squad, got to make yourself known, right? Coming out of the combine, he made himself known. Basically a 9 RAS score, which is relative athletic score, coming out of LSU. He's your more athletic type of guy. He loves trying to hurdle over guys, which is a little scary sometimes. But he's not terrible, right? And Devin Culp has not been having a good camp. He got injured in the very beginning around like mini camp, I think, and like the voluntary like OTAs and stuff. So he got hurt. It was like a leg injury or something like that. And then he's not had a good camp. He missed a couple passes. He's gotten beat on blocks. Like, it's not what you want to have when you're trying to make this roster, right? He only had 1 touchdown last year and barely anything else. When you got Keith as a special teamer guy and a blocking tight end as well as Payne Durham, we need that athletic guy. Can that be Bauer Sharp? Or is Devin Culp going to prove that he deserves a spot on this roster? You tell me. Who is going to make the roster and who is going to start, I guess, not start week 1, but be incorporated in the tight end room week 1? Devin Culp, type 82, or Bauer Sharp, type 84 down in the comment section. I want to know what you guys think. All right, last thing I want to talk about, David Walker was listed as the outside linebacker 3. So he's a little bit farther on the depth chart than I think he would want to be. Obviously, David Walker has had a very, very good camp. I've talked about him before. Obviously, the guy, our second-round pick out of Central Arkansas, fourth-round pick out of Central Arkansas. Jenna Lane and a bunch of other beat reporters at practice saying this is 9 practices that David Walker has gotten into the backfield, which is 9 sacks. This was coming off the left side today. This is back on August 9th. But also, Nacho, one of the veterans, saying D. Walker is something serious. I feel like he has a 95 win percentage ratio. He's definitely vicious. So, David Walker being that far down on the depth chart, this preseason is going to be huge for him, right? I think last year, obviously, getting that ACL back in July and going on IR and missing the entire season, he didn't have a chance to even play preseason. So I think this is going to be huge for him because Todd Bowles also said he's got his speed and athleticism back, which is huge. Because when you draft him and then you don't get to see him, it's like, what can we do now? Because in his second year, he has a lot to prove. And this preseason is going to be really, really important for him because if he can't show that he can make plays and deserves a spot on this roster, I don't know. So we'll have to see with this preseason. It's going to be either him against the Jets, and I mean, see how much run he gets because I don't know if they're going to start Ruben Bain a ton, and what this defensive line is going to look like, but it's going to be a big preseason for him. And I'm rooting for him, honestly, because the more dogs we have on that defensive line, the better the secondary is going to be. The faster you get to the quarterback, the more pressured that quarterback is going to be and prone to throw interceptions or make it easier for the secondary as well. So that's all I got for you today on this episode of Bucs Breakdown. Just going through the unofficial roster depth chart. You let me know your comments down in this comment section. I want to know what you guys have to say about the roster and the depth chart as a whole. But that is all I got for you. Thank you so much for watching to the end of today's show. If you like what we got going on here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It is completely free. You get Bucs content all season long. And as always, fire the cannons.